Hello and welcome to the podcast. Myself, Matt Davey, and Connor Godfrey. Today we're joined by Derby County fan and sports journalism student Henry Buxton. Henry talks all things Derby, including the departure of Frank Lampard and the transition under new management. A quick disclaimer, this podcast was recorded a couple of weeks ago, therefore the outlook of the championship table has changed and Derby's fortunes may look a little different than predicted in this podcast. Enjoy. Last season, Super Frankie Lampard, his first job in management, thoughts?
I think it was quite incredible, really. I mean, just having such a big name at the club was just quite good for Derby, really. And I think it was a good sort of transition for Lampard because a lot of these like ex-players that are sort of coming up sort of go for like lower league teams, and for Frank to step up and then go from Derby. Now he's at Chelsea, which is amazing. And he's doing really well at Chelsea, but because like Sol Campbell went lower down and he's struggled, and I know Gary Neville, he went up to Valencia and he was struggling with that. So I think Championship is a good level for a player who wants to become like a top flight manager. And yeah, so I think he did choose the right club because obviously it's Derby County, but yeah, I think it was a good starting point for him and a good stepping stone to get him up to that Chelsea role that he really wanted. So yeah.
When he took over, were you a bit nervous that, although by all accounts, he's a very intelligent man and knows his stuff, were you a bit worried that he was just going to he just got the job because of his name rather than actually a good kind of vision as a manager? Were you worried he was just gonna flop?
Yeah, the thing is that's it, isn't it? It's the name. When the name was announced, you think, oh my God, Frank Lampard's coming to Derby. But then you think, has he got the experience? And that was the thing when he moved to Chelsea this season, people in Chelsea were thinking, oh, is he experienced? He's only had one season at Derby. But yeah, the name does come with it, and you think, what's the reputation? He's a great player, but can he stand on the touchline and manage a club for a season? So yeah, I was a little bit worried because obviously he had no managerial experience, but then again, any manager that comes in, even if it's a manager that's managed before, that's been managing in, I don't know, the Austrian league for the last 10 years, I've never seen them manage, so it's just like that again. I mean, it's just, just have to see what the outcome's going to be, and having a big name like Frank Lampard is just good for the club, I think. So yeah, I was a bit worried. It was a bit 50-50 because it's like, well, cool, Frank Lampard there, but what can he do? And he proved us all wrong, really, because he was such a good manager.
Who was the manager before Frank Lampard?
We had like a few like interim and stuff like that, but chopping and changing. I'm not so sure because we had like an interim manager for a while.
Steve McLaren.
Steve McLaren. Oh, he was awful. Oh, he came twice.
Didn't he do quite well in his first stint though?
Yeah, first stint he managed us to obviously the playoffs, didn't he? So that was the highest point tally we've ever got in the championship, which is quite cool. But yeah, we had Paul Clement for a little bit. Oh, he was awful.
Really?
He was terrible.
Do you think it's kind of off topic from Frank Lampard, but Frank Lampard, got you to the playoffs and narrowly missed going up to the Prem. Obviously, the last time you were in the Premier League, Derby, bad things happened. Do you think if you did go up, obviously you've got a nice stadium and all that, do you think the club will be able to sustain Premier League football with the squad you've got, or do you think you just would have come straight back down again?
I've always been sort of nervous about that because obviously we have that bad reputation of the first time we were there, and every now and then Derby put in a horrendous performance in the championship. We'll lose or draw to like someone in the bottom half, and we just think, are these players ready to go up? And every time we do it, we don't seem to be running away with it. In the top two, we always are pushing. We're always in that playoff place, and we drop down, come back up, and teams that go up in the playoffs tend not to do too well because obviously they're not running away with the championship or just behind in second. Because I think that season that Newcastle and Brighton went up as 1 and 2, they were both really close at the end of the season, and they showed that they were ready for Premier League football. And then obviously the playoffs happened. Huddersfield go up, and they were thinking, oh, are they the worst team to go up ever because they were in the minus goal difference? But they actually ended up doing quite well. But then you get these teams that go up through the playoffs and they just can't cope, and they come right back down with a horrible points tally. I mean, we went off the last time we went up, it was in the playoffs, and we beat West Brom in the final. But yeah, it's just wondering whether the players are ready, and if we do go up, we will need to make some signings, because I don't. As much as I love the team and I think the team are good, I don't think the team currently are good enough for the Premier League, I'd say.
When
in my opinion, anyway.
When Lampard came in then last season, what do you think was a realistic expectation for him in terms of where he'd finish? Was it playoffs? Was that the aim? Or?
I mean, every single season for Derby's playoffs, and then if that's sort of that's the problem with Derby, is we expect as a fan base to get playoffs every season minimum. So him coming in, it was just a sort of Mel Morris was like, Frank, you're in. Playoffs, please, minimum. Get us promoted. So to even get us to the final was just incredible. I think the fans were talking about giving him a couple of seasons to get into it, but obviously he was here for a season and went, which wasn't very fun. But it was fun while it lasted. But yeah, I think any manager that comes in, right, hello, new manager, playoffs, please, or promotion, champions, whatever. So it's just a thing with Derby. So if you stoop below that, I think you're out the door before you can think, really. So yeah, I think just the expectation was the same as any manager that comes in. Doesn't matter who he is, if it's Frank Lampard or someone that's come up from the Japanese league. It's just it's anyone, really.
Do you think the squad that you have now? I mean, you mentioned you might need to make more signings, especially. I mean, you've got Wayne Rooney, but from an outsider looking in, there's not many players in there that I think would break into a Premier League squad. I was just wondering, how many players in that squad do you think are actually Premier League capable? And do you think the squad is overachieving to get into the playoffs?
I think we are. That's the thing. We're good, but we're good for the Championship, if you know what I mean. We are out and out Championship side, I think. And that's why, obviously, we want to be successful. We want to win the league. We want to prove that we're the best team in the Championship. But that comes with getting promoted to the Premier League. And that's a thing that I think would not be good. Obviously, yeah, like I said, the signings in, the new year, well, in during the summer and then in January as well, to try and strengthen the squad. But at the moment, I couldn't see any player. Obviously, we've got players that used to play in the Premier League and have played in the Premier League that we've got. But I currently think as a squad, we are an out-and-out Championship side. And that's what worries me, really, because then if we do be successful like we should be, and then get up to Premier League, it just wouldn't work, I don't think. But if we have that Championship grit and that Championship playing style to, play with the Premier League teams, I think that we could give it a shot. But you never know until it happens, really. But I don't want to be detrimental, but I don't think I could name one player that would start in a Premier League team. I mean, I know Norwich and Villa are pretty rubbish, but and they could start in those teams. But yeah, I couldn't say a single player that could be in that top 6, for example.
Just to jump back one more time to Frank Lampard, obviously he reached the playoff final, but do you think that one season at Derby, justified? I mean, I know he's an ex-player, but justified a move to Chelsea?
I don't think it was Derby's choice. That I think the job opened up at Chelsea, and I don't think Frank knew when that, or anyone would know when that would open up again if it was given to anybody random, and how well that manager would be. So I think it was just the timing was perfect for him. The vacancy opened up. He was doing well. He wants that job at Chelsea. He probably always wanted that job at Chelsea. He didn't know when it would come. Might not be vacant for another 3, 4, 5 years. So when you take it, you take it. And we, as a fan base, I think 90% of the fan base was sort of, for Derby, was just sort of like, well, that's what he wanted to do. Let it be, and then he can go, and we're just getting a new manager. But thank you for the season, really. That's all we had to do, really. So yeah, it was unfortunate, but it's what he's wanted to do, so got to respect that.
Okay, and then so Philip Cocu comes in, obviously legendary sort of Dutch international as a player and played for Barcelona, as manager at PSV, sort of knocked Ajax off of their perch. What's different under Cocu compared to Lampard? Is there anything different?
I think the start, everyone was a bit unsure because obviously, as Connor asked me before, it was the name, wasn't it? It's the big lights, Frank Lampard. Oh my God, Frank Lampard's manager of Derby. And it was just someone a bit less well known come in. I know he's like legendary, but I think I've heard of him like once or twice before he came in as manager. But I was just looking at the stats before. There was a stats thing from Sky Sports that he's in after 40 games, we're on the exact same points, exact same goal tally, exact same everything apart from goals against, which we've only conceded 2 more this season. So he's done the exact same as Frank Lampard, like pretty much the exact same. It's quite uncanny, really. So if we compare it each season, he's done what he needs to do, really, and now we just need to try and get us a playoff place. And then I think he would go down as a good manager, and I think he has the long-term backing of Mel Morris, well, as the chairman, Mel Morris, at the moment. So we've got to stick with him. I think he could be with us for another few years, and I'll back that because he's been a great manager.
Does it worry you a bit that now Frank Lampard, I don't know if it's fair to say he's used the club as a stepping stone, but I think as Southampton fans, we're definitely used to players and managers doing that to us. Does it worry you that perhaps Derby are going to get a reputation of managers come in, do an okay job, and then move on somewhere else? Does that worry you that you're going to become like a stepping stone for managers and players?
I mean, not really, because it's only sort of happened once, and then we had Ashley Cole in for a season, but that was just because he wanted to play English football again. And now I've got Rudy in sort of a similar role. But I'm not worried as such. I think I'll sort of welcome it on in a way because it shows that if you can come in and help us have a good season and then you want to move on to pastures new, as long as you stayed with us and been loyal to us for a season and helped us win, I don't see the problem of moving on. Obviously we would like to keep them, but I think that if managers have that dream job at, I don't know, like Frank Lampard had the dream job at Chelsea, or someone has a dream job at Arsenal or Spurs or Man U, then fair enough, come to us for a season. As long as it's successful, then we don't mind.
What was it like when Ashley Cole came in? Because I remember when he signed, I remember thinking that's really weird because he, I know he wanted to play in England, but he was sort of in the MLS for a while, and you sort of thought that's where he was going to end his career. And he came in. I mean, what was he like? Did he kind of still have that ability, or was it very much just like retirement for him?
I think the trifecta of the Lampard, then the Cole, and then the Rooney coming in, all three have been really weird. It's just like, why Derby in a way, but it's like, thanks for coming to Derby. So yeah, it was weird. I mean, I saw him play live a couple of times and saw him on the TV. You could tell he wasn't as good as he used to be. I mean, not like Arsenal or Chelsea days. He's not as good as that. But yeah, it was a strange moment really bringing him in. But obviously he was mates with Lampard and wanted to back in English football, and that was a perfect route for him to come back to Derby. But yeah, it was strange to see him at the club. Very strange.
Shall we talk about, I've given it this name, the Keogh incident from earlier in the season. I guess you'll know about.
Well, it's not really the Keogh. It's not the Keogh incident. It's the, well.
Talk us through it.
It's the everything. It's the Lawrence Bennett Keogh incident. Yeah. Obviously, it's, well, not speculation, but not everything's accurate. But yeah, I think if you don't know about it, you've been living under a rock. If you're a football fan and you don't know about it, you've been living under a rock. But yeah, I think it was just one night of carelessness after a players' party that's just resulted in guy losing his career, really. I think it's quite a shame because Keogh was a fan favourite. He was always passionate, leading the line, captain a lot of the time, and I think he was one of our better players. At the back he was loyal, um, always there for the club, always putting help with fans. Always had a great relationship with the manager, no matter who it was, and yeah, I think it's a shame really about what happened on that night. And obviously Bennett was gone, and Lawrence has not really been punished for it enough, I don't think. But yeah, it's just an unfortunate incident, really.
So it was drink driving, wasn't it? And Keogh was in the passenger seat.
Yeah. So it wasn't actually him driving. It was Bennett and Lawrence that were driving, and I think Keogh said that Keogh was in Lawrence's car, and he crashed, and Keogh got a knee injury, and then he obviously didn't play, and then got released by the club because apparently of his actions. But then again, 3 games later, Lawrence was back in the squad, which is ridiculous to me. And I think it's all just because of his age. That's the only thing that I think's
Is that
the reason why.
legitimately ended his career?
I think so, because he's quite old. Well, old for a footballer, obviously. But yeah, he's been at the club for a long time, and he is a lot older now. But I think he would have retired within the next 2 seasons anyway. But it would have been nice. The problem is, it's the tarnished reputation now, the tarnished career. It would have been nice for him to end his career, have a guard of honour, maybe a testimonial, something like that, for his last game for Derby. And now you can't ask that. His last appearance at Pride Park, he was in crutches and wasn't even in the touchline. He was in the crowd with some fans. So
Do you think it's a bit
yeah, it's a shame,
hypocritical
really.
to punish one player? I say, I suppose they all got some form of punishment, but to release one and then, like you say, to play the other one just a few games later, do you think there should have been one punishment for all, or they should all have been forgiven?
Yeah. I think Bennett's been in a whirlwind for a while. He was always been controversial, and he's gone to Millwall now, fittingly anyway. But yeah, and I just think football's a business at the end of the day, and people and the internet and people's memories run so quickly these days that I bet a couple of Derby fans have even forgotten about that incident because Lawrence has been playing so well. But Lawrence is a good player. I'm not going to doubt that. I'm not going to say that he's not. And I think that his ability, and he's still young, he's still worth money if we wanted to sell him in the future. He's still banging in the goals for Derby. He's getting one every other game at the moment. So, and Keogh was getting to the end of his career. So I think that was an excuse for him to go, look, you're injured, you get to the end of your career, let's just let you go. But I think he still had a couple of seasons in him yet, which is unfortunate. But yeah, at the end of the day, they're doing business, trying to keep Lawrence for a little bit, getting some goals for the club, and then maybe sell him on. And they've already got some money for Bennett to leave as well. So yeah, it's just all business at the end of the day for that, I think.
Okay. Shall we talk about Wayne Rooney?
Oh, I'd love to.
How did Derby County sign Wayne Rooney? How? I still can't get my head around it, to be honest.
I've been trying to work it out for the last few months, really. It's always been a year now, hasn't it? Jeez.
So he announced it before we came, didn't he?
Yeah, he announced it in the summertime-ish.
Mm.
So, and then he obviously started playing in January, but I don't know either. I mean, I think he had a relationship with sort of a business relationship with Mel Morris anyway in the past, and obviously Koku. I think he just wanted to make a return to English football, and he saw, I think, in a way, maybe Frank Lampard and Ashley Cole could have had a role in getting him in, really, because I think Rooney saw Derby as like a potential with Frank Lampard obviously managing. So yeah, I think it's just a lot of negotiating. Sponsors might have helped a bit. He wanted to come back to English football. Probably didn't want to go straight into the top flight. Everton may have not wanted him. Man United probably wouldn't have wanted him back. They're trying to build a squad at the moment, and I don't think he is Premier League material anymore. I think he is Championship's a perfect level for him. MLS was a perfect level for him because he is getting older. But yeah, I think it begs the question: how did we do it? And the answer is I have no idea either. But it's been a brilliant few months with him. Obviously, we've had the restart and everything, but he's sort of helped us out really, because what Derby tend to do is we normally have a good start to the season, and then we're like clinging on at the end. Darren Bent was saying on Sky Sports yesterday, we talked about this. Is sort of we're doing it the other way around, where we normally do well before Christmas, and then after Christmas we slip off the pace. But this, at the moment, we did it so bad before Christmas. It was sort of like, well, we kind of needed resurgence after Christmas, and just before the season got suspended for a little bit, then we were doing well, and now it's restarted. We're doing brilliantly. We're at the moment we're top on home form, and we're top in the recent form as well. So yeah, it's been great to have him in the squad. I think he's stepped up to become a leader. He's a natural born leader, I think. So he's really helped us out. So yeah, it's been brilliant for the last few months.
He's player coach, isn't he? Does he wear the armband? I mean,
yeah, he's captain at the moment. Yeah, he was captain yesterday, and I think he's got that mind. He's got that captain mind, leader. He's a natural born leader. So yeah, but he did say in one interview that he's going to be a player before he's a manager. Like, he was more of a player than he was a manager, and I was happy with that. He wasn't going to do half and half. I think he's mostly a player, but I think the whole player manager thing's a financial thing, because you can't put someone on that wages and buy them for that money if they're not a manager as well. There was something. It was a loophole with the system. They were saying if he's a player manager, he can spend this much, but if he's a player, he can't spend that much and on his wage, so he gets paid more wage than he should do because he's a player manager, if you know what I mean. But he is managing on the pitch. He's leading on the pitch as a captain. He's scoring some amazing goals, amazing free kicks, and yeah, he's been in great form, so it's good.
Does the financial aspects of the deal worry you slightly? Because there's that whole thing with is it 32 Red?
Yeah, 32. Yeah.
Sponsorship, and like you say, they've gone through this loophole so they can pay him more. Does that worry you a bit? I'm not necessarily that the club sold their soul or anything, but that they've sort of gone all out for this player who's 30 whatever and sort of past it and is at championship level anyway. Does that worry you a bit that you're overpaying him?
Yes, but as I said before, football's a business, isn't it? You've got to find loopholes if you're running a business. You've got to find ways to deliver. I think Rooney's been a great financial endeavour. Probably sold so many shirts with his name on, so much merchandise with him, and they probably made the money back for him. 32 Red just helped a little bit. I know that there was speculation of 32 Red, if he sold his soul to 32 Red or whatever, and he's got 32 on his back, and it's a bit weird. But then again, 32 Red are a business. There are sponsors, there are shirt sponsors, they sponsor a lot of match days and things like that. So, I mean, sponsorships are massive in football these days with money, so be it. I mean, it is kind of worrying in a way, because you don't want him to go down that route of relying on sponsorships or us relying on sponsorships for funding, but at the end of the day, it's all a business. I think that's just the outlook you have to have on it.
just how much has Rooney impacted your season? I mean, because I know obviously spending a lot of time with you, and at the start of the season, I mean, you touched on it already, like Derby really weren't doing that well. And it just seems like from an outsider looking in and not following Derby week in, week out, since Rooney's come in, he's barely done anything wrong. And like his overall impact has completely just pushed the team up the table.
Yeah, I mean, he's sort of, there's been a spark in Derby's play with him coming in. We've been so much better after Christmas than before Christmas, and yeah, there must be something in the water at the moment, because he's doing so well. When I first saw his debut, I was a bit unsure. He wasn't sort of sure about his positioning. But then again, any player on his debut is going to struggle with a new team because it's a new team. You're not used to playing with the players. You're not used to the shape. You're not used to the manager. You're not used to the ground. But I think because there's so much expectation on him, you sort of want him to hit the ground running and come in. And to be fair, he has hit the ground running, and I think he's been brilliant. And like I said, he has the captain mentality, and he runs the game in the middle, and he's been scoring a couple of goals, and he's just helped us out really. So it's been good.
Okay. So with a few games left until the end of the season, Derby just sit outside of the playoff places. How realistic is it, do you think, come the end of the season, you'll be in that top 6?
I want to think that would be the ultimate goal. Minimum, if we get 6th, I think we've had a successful season. I think at the moment we've had a successful season. I think if it ended now, we think, oh, well, we got 7th. We had an awful start to the season. We've had a good resurgence and we're back up to near the playoffs, and fair enough. But I think now we're having such a good run that I think some fans would actually be disappointed if we didn't get playoffs at the moment. But we have one of the hardest run-ins I think we've ever had and any other team has at the moment. Have you seen our run-in? Oh my gosh, it's bad. We just had Preston, which we won, which was good. We have Forest, West Brom, Brentford, Leeds, Cardiff and Birmingham. I think all of them we could lose apart from Birmingham. I think we'll beat Birmingham. But that is a hard run-in. They're all top half, even like top 6 teams they are. So I think it's kind of good in a way because if we beat them, we can sort of overtake them because they're also pushing for the top. So we don't have to like rely on other results. Like if we win, we deserve to be there. So I think they're all winnable. Forest and Leeds are the standout fixtures, with rivalries and everything like that and unpredictability. But I do think we can push for a playoffs this season. We can't get automatic. I think West Brom and Leeds are doing too well at the moment. But yeah, I think that playoffs would be so successful this season. I think we've had a good season at the moment anyway. Like I said, if it ends now, but yeah. Ultimate goal, playoffs, we've had a great season. And then again, it doesn't really matter what we do. If we get promoted, brilliant. Brilliant. I'm kind of worried, like I said, but if we don't get promoted, losing the semis, losing the final, it's just, so be it. But yeah, I think we've had a good season so far.
The Forest game coming up then, huge derby. What is that going to be like behind closed doors?
It's going to be a bit mental, isn't it, really? Because it's going to be the atmosphere is normally so intense, those sort of games, that I think home advantage would be massive. But now we're at home, but no fans. So is it going to matter that we're at home? We could have gone to City Ground. It probably wouldn't have mattered. But I do think that it's a familiar setting. It should help us out a bit. There'll be flags around. It'll just be our stadium. So I do hope that they can step up. And yeah, I think we did lose the reverse fixture, which wasn't good. But yeah, it's probably one of the most significant East Midland derbies in years because we're both pushing for promotion at the moment. It's always been we've been ahead, and at the moment they are. So it is significant for us, significant for them to keep their place. And I mean, if they go on a good run, they could get automatic, which is scary, which is something I couldn't even think of. Like it's like imagine Portsmouth coming up to the Championship, you get relegated to the Championship, and then Portsmouth finish above you. You'd be distraught, wouldn't you? You'd be absolutely distraught. That's what it's like for us. If Forest go up or they finish above us, that is horrendous, and we just can't afford that to happen. So if we do beat them on Saturday, I think we go within a point of them. So that's what we desperately need, I think so. And it would just boost us so much. But we do need to finish above them. And I can't imagine Forest going up and Leeds going up at the same time would just be horrendous. But yeah, yeah, no, it's massive game. I think this is the most significant East Midlands derby for years.
I'm just
Okay.
looking at the table now, and Forest and Fulham, who are 4th and 5th, are on 67, and Derby are on 60. So I
Yeah.
think the best chance for Derby to break into the playoff is definitely going to be Cardiff, who are 1 point ahead.
And we have to play them at some point as well. Play them second to last game of the season. So, yeah.
How long is Rooney's contract for? I mean, if you don't get promoted, is he going to look to go somewhere else? Do you think, or is he tied in for a long time?
He did tweet yesterday. You know, we just released our new away kit for next season. He said, "I can't wait to wear this next season." After retweeting it, so hopefully that's a sign that he's here for another season. But then again, I don't know. I don't really know if he was on a contract as such. I think it was just sort of like obviously he was on a contract, but it was kind of undisclosed in a way. But it was he was meant to stay for a season and a half, I think it said, because he obviously started in January, and there was like, I'll come for half a season and then another season. So yeah, hopefully he's here for at least one more season. I mean, 2 would be brilliant, but I think another one would be good, would be ideal. But yeah.
Okay, final thing from me then. I don't know if Godfrey's got any other questions after this, but a prediction, Buxton. Where do you think, come the end of the season, a Derby in the playoffs? Do they get promoted? Where do you see them being realistically?
Thing is, this is a bias now because I'll obviously say, yeah, we'll get playoffs, we'll challenge for the final, and we'll get to the final. But we tend to bottle it. That's the problem. Around this time, we tend to have a really poor run of games and just sort of, we've got such a hard run in. I think virtually, yes, we can. And I think we could get promoted if we get into the playoffs. But realistically, it's going to be very tough. It's going to, with the hard run in, and actually the teams that are currently in the playoffs are just brilliant at the moment, apart from Forest, but we'll ignore them. But yeah, virtually yes. Realistically, maybe. I don't want to say yes or no because I'll jinx it, but I'd like to hope so. I'd like to hope that playoffs is what we achieve this season, and then I have to go through the stress of the two legs and then maybe the final as well, which is just horrendous. Oh, it's the worst thing. Wait till you come down and experience it. Not touch wood that Southampton don't, but honestly, it's the worst thing, the playoffs. It's the worst thing to lose and the best thing to win. Oh, it's horrendous, but yeah, it'd be good if we do.
Godfrey, anything else?
I'm just going to ask quickly. I assume you've been a fan of Derby all your life, or the majority of it. Just quickly, because we've not got long left. That season you came up to the Premier League and had the worst ever points tally. What was that like as a fan?
The thing is, I don't really remember much of it because I was quite young still, and I was more into Arsenal for a lot of my youth. I was following Arsenal more. I remember watching it in, I think it was a gym somewhere, watching it on the TV. It was like a sort of like a restaurant setup, watching the playoff final on the TV against West Brom, and I remember everyone going mental. That was a good experience. But yeah, no, I remember at school, because obviously rivalries happen at school, and I'm sort of in the divide between Nottingham and Derby. Like, I'm right on like the sort of border of where Derby fans start to become Forest fans. So a lot of the schools I've been to have been Derby and Forest fans. I've not been like fully Derby or fully Forest. So there was always that banter there with different things, and all the Forest fans sort of taking the mick in a way that we were doing so badly in the Premier League. But yeah, it was a terrible season, and I don't wish it for it to happen again anytime soon. So yeah, it was a bad season.